Thank you for joining. We are pleased to have Dalton Honda today as a guest with us. He has 25 years of experience working in shipping. Time flies, huh? Crazy. He has experience working in 3 countries. He began his career working in São Paulo, Brazil in 1999 as a market analyst with Hamburg Süd. He then relocated to Japan working for Hitachi Transport Systems. He returned back to São Paulo with Hamburg Süd. And then eventually took a working opportunity in New Jersey in the trade management department around 2006 and worked his way up all the way to management, leading the global tender management team for North America. He then spent a short stint with Maersk as an ocean charge manager, and currently he works for LP Global as an information and compliance manager. He also has 2 higher educational credentials, one from his home country in Brazil, and then another postgraduate degree in data analytics from Purdue University. Quite the rap sheet, Dalton.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So, you know, I like having these conversations around shipping and transportation and how we got affiliated with this industry, because I feel like we all have different backgrounds, and the industry almost kind of finds us a little bit versus us actively seeking it. So I'm curious if you have...
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and that was exactly my case. I hold a bachelor's degree in business administration, and as part of the curriculum was a requirement to do an internship before you get your degree, right? So my internship was basically everything in manufacturing. So that was the path that my father did. He's been all along in his career working in manufacturing industry. So that's the path I thought I was going to follow, and so I finished the internship and got my college degree, and then I started looking for jobs, any opportunities out there, when a recruiter from one of the steamship lines found me. So that's pretty much the history, how I began my career in the shipping industry without knowing much about what entails, right? The shipping industry, let alone what a container was. So, but everything worked well from the beginning. I hit it off immediately with my hiring manager back then. And yeah, so it's been a long journey, but rewarding. I learned a lot, still learning.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, you have had a very experienced background now in logistics and transportation, which is very impressive, not just working in the U.S., but also abroad, and even starting your career in Brazil, I believe.
That's correct. Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, throughout this entire lineage of your working life, what is one of the jobs that you look back with a lot of favoritism, that you really enjoy doing, that kind of had that sense of fulfillment associated with it?
Yeah, actually, as you said, I held a lot of different positions, but within trade management, pricing, tender management, and one that actually I enjoyed the most, although probably was the most stressful dynamic, was capacity management or allocation management.
I see. So
the role was basically being the middleman between the vessel planner, you know very well that role, and the commercial team. So the role was to help the company, maximize the vessel capacity, right? Optimize. So that role was pretty important. And yeah, although I did as a junior level, also as a senior level, but regardless, was a very challenging role. Yeah, so I had that capacity in my native Brazil and also here in the U.S.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can imagine balancing the commercial side and the operational piece and acting as a liaison between those two must have been very challenging, where you have to kind of weigh the considerations of each organization and make the ultimate best call for the ultimate capacity of the ship, when you're considering empties and how much to load there and then full cargo.
Yeah, and also we have different ports, right? Different commercial, like a regional management. So what the role was pretty challenging because you have to protect the allotted space for each region, right? So, and whenever there is an extra space, for example, I would think about which region should be assigned those extra space. Yeah, so at the end of the day, it was really hard to appease everyone,
Yeah.
right? It was, but of course, the decisions were always made with my direct manager and my colleagues. So, yeah, at the end of the day, the goal was to make sure that we, load the containers to the full capacity of the ship and deliver the cargo to the customers.
Absolutely. And, it's interesting how you mentioned there's no real linear path for some of these things because you're having to adapt on the fly with these decisions, and you have to make things kind of in a constrained time window.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always been impressed with your demeanor because you keep things calm and steady and you look at things very objectively. And I've been impressed with the fact that you eliminate the emotions from these decisions. Can you speak to some of that characteristic traits? Because I think it's very unique and it demonstrates your ability to speak through actions more than words.
Yeah, actually, as you know, I'm kind of more on the introvert side, but more on the listener side than talker or extrovert. But for that particular role, to have someone like me with my personality, very kind of quiet, but be able to focus, right? Not panic in any moment. So that was. It was something that I think came to play very well in occasion that, we are decision when it comes time to decide to roll cargo, knowing that you're going to upset some of the regional managers. But all along I try to keep my cool without, but again, trying to protect the company goals.
Yeah, and you did that very successfully, if I might say. You also had experience managing teams and different personalities, and you kept that same level of stoicness in those engagements and leadership abilities, if I may say so as well. So how did you govern your teams? Where was that balance of trying to be approachable with your team members, but also kind of ensuring that they knew you and respected you as the leader?
Yeah, actually, everyone is different, right? Different backgrounds, there are different personalities, and different drive, right? So most of my reports actually came straight out of college, right? They are all junior level, a lot of energy, ready to learn, and hunger, right? For information, for knowledge, and I managed maybe 25 different young guys, and so I always kept try to keep, right? I'm saying try because I may not have succeed with some, but did better with others. But in any case, I always maintain, especially one-on-one conversation, communication, right? So I think that's a setting that I would feel more comfortable, and also the report would also feel more comfortable in exchanging ideas, see what's going well, what's going wrong. So I think more importantly, I always try to be as approachable as possible, right? Especially for younger kids, right? So they may feel intimidated to come to you, but that was my, I would say, my approach with everyone. I keep always my channels open.
Yeah, that's very wise, and I think if you act in a manner of authenticity with your team, they pick up on that, and they adopt accordingly. And I think, when you do show your true colors in a sense, from a personality perspective, they're relatable to you, they're more open and receptive to their wants and needs and their positions on things, even within the company. So I think that's really wise that you were able to really drive that within your team. And I think even the team members themselves had that same relationship with each other because you showed that and demonstrated the example for them to lead.
Yeah, that's correct. That was something that I always enjoyed in some groups, getting along very well, right? Because that's if everybody gets along very well within the department, the result will be beneficial, right, to the department, for the company. So I was lucky to have managing a couple of great people, great group of people.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you continue to carry that mantle today with your current working engagements, even if there are teams that you're not necessarily managing, just that level of professionalism and approachability, that really goes a long way. And it really helps drive business. So whenever you hit some negative issue within your team, with someone you're trying to mentor or counsel, how do you steer them away from the path that's perhaps a more negative channel into a more productive capacity where they're able to kind of get back on the same page, let some of those emotions that we discussed before drain away a bit, and focus on the mission?
Yeah, actually that would require like more intensive, like a one-on-one conversation. At times I would even involve HR or my direct manager, because you cannot have a person, right, even with a lot of potential, steering away from the company objective, right? So that good one-on-one, effective conversation, explaining as a father speaks to their son. So that was one approach that was probably I had to resort to a couple of times. So one-on-one conversation, and I think they are normally, again, as I said, most of my reports were very young. So they're all some immature, right? So a good conversation, right? A good word can go a long way with that.
Absolutely, and I think you really demonstrated that in terms of really guiding their hand through a lot of those situations and taking on that much more hands-on approach. So that's clear and well said. Within your vast career, Dalton, you've had opportunities to travel, you've had opportunities to work on different teams and get involved with very move-the-needle type projects. I'm curious, what advice do you have with engaging with others on that level, where you're perhaps liaisoning and collaborating with folks you don't necessarily deal with day in, day out, but they're very pivotal as levers with the ultimate project that you're helping to lead or even just contribute to?
Yeah, actually, along my career, not only I have to deal with working in project with different large group, but people from not different background, but also from different cultures, right?
Yes, good point.
Especially working for a global company. Most of the steamship lines nowadays are the biggest one, are all global companies. I think it was the approach was. As you know, right, there is no such a thing as a one size fits all. Was very difficult at times to deal with the different culture, but we have to adapt and respect the other side. Try to learn whoever is the guy's background, the culture, and bring everything to the table for discussion. But so. I think the key is to step in the other people's shoes, right? That's the key to a good communication, interaction. Whatever is the project you're working on.
Good advice. Yeah, making that really key point of empathy with the people you're engaging with and seeing things on their level, which I think is important to underscore in those business dealings. You've had opportunities to travel with companies and employers you've worked for. What are some good points of advice that you could share to folks who are seeking an opportunity where they are going to be required to travel more frequently within their jobs? It's very disruptive to typical schedules and routines that people get into. So how can you balance that level of disruption with the work that you're being tasked with doing during that work travel?
Nowadays, I can actually talk more about that being the expatriation, right? It could be very challenging because in most cases you're not moving to a different place by yourself. You're bringing your family, but it's gotta you a lot of research. You have to be prepared up front if you're going to a place that you don't know the language, which was my Not exactly my case. I knew a little English before coming to the U.S., but you have to prepare well and not complain. So yeah, just a lot of preparation, and don't be shy to ask colleagues who've been through similar experience on any advice. So that's exactly what I did. Luckily, I had enough colleagues who had been expats prior from me coming to the U.S., so that was very helpful.
Yeah, that's really good to say. And you really have to put yourself in a vulnerable position because it is such a risk when you're talking about moving into different countries. And even within the continental U.S., if you're talking about different coasts, it's difficult. And you have to weigh those elements of preparation, you said, in the forefront before you uproot your entire family and your social situation.
Yeah, even like a travel, when I travel, I don't travel a lot anymore, but you try to manage it with your family, right? The best time management would be catch a flight, the first flight in the morning, or or the last one on a Sunday, for example. But nowadays things are easier with airports. You have in-flight Wi-Fi, so you can actually accomplish a lot, even while you're not being in the office.
That is true, yeah. And I mean, there's such a focus now on just working, quote unquote, remotely, right? Where you're stationed now, which I think helps minimize some of that required business travel, to your point. And on that line of thinking, there's such an emphasis on that remote work climate, even in the maritime sector today. How have you seen that work well? And what are some areas that's been more limiting in, whether it's team engagement or just that interpersonal savvy? Have you seen some of the pros and cons there?
Yeah, actually, definitely. Since my career has been more before COVID, right? I can tell that it's still. I think I'm still adapting to the remote environment, but I can tell right now it's in person. That it's. I think the results, the performance, the productivity could be the interaction, the level of engagement across the team is definitely better.
Yeah.
The result working either remotely or in person may be the same, but the level of interaction when being in person and being virtual is completely different. And so it's I would say even sometimes you can accomplish things quickly if you're in the office, or it's not so much doing being virtual. But again, virtual pros, you can sometimes if your job doesn't require much interaction, you can actually get much stuff done working remotely.
That is true. It gives you that degree of flexibility. But you also hit on a very important point, which is that social grease, if you will, within the office when you have people right around you, where you can talk to them in almost an unstructured way. Nowadays, you almost have to schedule a Microsoft Teams meeting or a Zoom call just to get in touch with somebody. And I think in the old days, so to speak, before this remote work climate post-COVID, we have seen that push just to talk to people through these devices, and you have to really carve out specific slots of your day to have those touch points.
Everything is more structured. Everything has to be scheduled ahead of time. There's no such a thing as like somebody being in the office, somebody dropping in your cubicle. I loved actually doing when I would receive like a visitor, so to speak. That would actually give a good break, and it was pretty enjoyable to have that kind of situation, which we don't have right now, right? Because you're not going to go get your coffee and strike up a conversation with someone you don't know, actually from a different department, and learn something new, what the other person does at this other department. So, but I think it's now it is what it is. I think we all have to embrace the virtual world and try to adapt and be productive as we can, even with those limitations.
Yeah. it's not going away. It's becoming very static in business now, and it's something we have to adapt to and evolve with. So it is important that we learn these techniques of how to engage with people through teams and through the technical options. And we almost have to become mini IT personnel as well, especially folks that are working exclusively from their own home domiciles. So, Dalton, in this current role you're in, there's a focus on data management. I'm curious what you see in terms of the value of data and how it can drive business decision making.
Oh yes, I think data is almost is everything, right? It's the starting point, right? If you are trying to get increase the number of your customers, right? You want to reach to an area like, oh, we don't have business in California, so we need to start digging into those data and start finding new business, and everything has to move pretty quickly, right? Quicker than in the past. There are a lot of tools, right? The BI tools in the market, like Tableau, Power BI, Looker, among others. And everything runs so quickly that if you have to get the data, quality data, crunch the numbers, put in a format for your management to be able to analyze in the most efficient way. And then from there you start taking action, right? Okay, I need to send more sales force in California, Houston, Texas. So data is we know. So it's a means to know what the competition are doing.
I see. Mm-hmm. Interesting. That's a good perspective on that, actually, from a market standpoint. And when we talk about career options in the maritime and logistics space, I do think if you're a professional that understands how to manipulate data, that could be a good door opener to get involved with logistics and supply chain. And I think we saw a lot of that need since COVID, where there was more of an emphasis on data and understanding how that can make better decisions for logistics firms. So that's very salient words to share. And shifting our attention to the landscape of transportation since COVID, what have you seen as some changes or trends that are new or emerging since the COVID environment, and lessons learned within maritime that we could take into the future?
Yeah, I think definitely, if I have to choose one word, digitalization. Right? Yes. I think it's ever since COVID, not only in the shipping industry, right? You can see all these digitalization trend across pretty much the entire industry, all industries, right? And I think the shipping industry, although they seem to be lagging behind some other industries, but they are trying to catch up, and they are catching up well. And a lot of tools, and especially the steamship lines, and putting a lot of investment in increasing the customer experience, right, on the digital world. So ways to keep track of your cargo, to get rate quotes, so it's ways to find business, help customers even find business. So this is moving fast, and definitely that's something that I have noticed since I would say 2020, 2021. Companies getting more, engaging more efforts in the digitalization.
Absolutely. I think the pandemic really accelerated the digital transformation across different companies, different firms, different customers even, and they really had to adapt on the fly to make those necessary adjustments for the sake of their business and their end customer as well. So that's well to see. Have you taken that a step further, seen the introduction of AI further expanding the use of digitalization in different parts of logistics companies in terms of an application sense?
Yeah, actually, on the data analytics side, that's actually I'm experienced that trend helping me a lot. As tools like a Copilot, ChatGPT, it's something that it's here to stay, and you have to learn. And for example, on Copilot, stuff that as a data developer, stuff that I require a lot of research in the past, Googling, going to YouTube, asking friends, experts. Nowadays with the Copilot, you can get a lot of stuff done. You ask whatever you want, what kind of coding you need, and voila, you right there.
It's like magic.
Like magic. And so as data analytics, working with data, it's AI is already here, and that's for everyone to use and take advantage of all the benefits. It's amazing. To be quite honest, I've been using more, I would say, the last 4 or 5 months. I haven't had actually a long, extensive experience using AI, but Copilot is a good example of what's happening right now.
Absolutely. It's so important nowadays, and I do think it's something we should move to embrace versus have a degree of skepticism with it, because that's always going to be the case with technology. We're always going to have different negative connotations that are associated with those things, even if it's a basic computer such as this, or if it's a more advanced, sophisticated technology like AI. And it makes us more productive, I think, with the jobs and tasks that we're assigned with completing. So that's clear. Dalton, you've been around a long time. You've developed a lot of worthwhile professional connections. Can you speak to the power of networking for a younger professional and how they can go about building up their own internal network to leverage that for potential future opportunities?
Yeah, actually, obviously the network, it's the key, right? So in the future, if you're considering switch careers or switching companies, switching departments, the network is the key. That's why from the onset, doesn't matter how much you enjoy your work, wherever you're being assigned to, just try to be the best at what you're doing. So that's and don't burn bridges, right?
Yes.
Behind you, because I have seen cases, real cases, that people losing their cool and walking away. But never if you're not happy, just be outspoken, just be honest with your management, instead of throwing tantrums, whatever. Just be honest. Call your manager. Hopefully you're gonna have a good manager who can be a good listener. And so but network is everything. So within your department, small department, the whole company, because one's false step actually can cause a lot of damage. Not that I'm threatening, not scaring people, but that's what might happen in the real world if you don't have a good connection.
You're absolutely right, because the shipping industry, especially, is so close knit, and we all kind of understand one another and where we're working and who's doing what. And if you negatively damage that reputation you have, that is a real consequence. That's very challenging to repair in certain cases.
Sometimes you're just not happy. Just take a deep breath before spitting out something that might come back to you, right? So that's one of the advice I've been giving to the young guys.
Keep that calm-headedness. To your point.
Stuff that my former manager also taught me.
Which is really helpful information to know. And along that line, can you reflect on any past mentors that you had that really pass along a lot of good points of advice and wisdom that you've even adopted within your character and professionalism today?
I think one that one of my managers, I remember saying, just to stay professional, right? Don't take things personally. Sometimes you you mess up with some task or project, in my case, I would get super upset. I start beating myself up, but stuff happens, right? And my manager would say, yeah, tomorrow is another day. Just move on. Try not to drag stuff that you did in the past. Yeah, you learn your lesson. But yeah, I think it's more like move forward and keep your head high, and even make a mistake, that will happen.
Absolutely. And mistakes are going to happen, to your point. You can't avoid them necessarily, especially if you're new to the shipping industry. And it's important to learn about them and overcome them, but not, to your point, take them to heart. Because then that, unfortunately, snowballs into something more negative than just a single mistake that you made.
Yeah, the couple of advices I have gotten along my career, one that I liked, I had this manager say another mistake I made, and he said, I tried to give all the explanation from what I have done, and he said, no, never go by assumptions, right? Just collect the facts, and a lot of things about, I don't want to get into politics, but fact check, right? But I think in the business also that is super important. Try not to go by assumption. Yeah, just try to take decision. Yeah, even for the most part, it's going to be a risk. Will be a risk, but try to collect as much information you can before jumping to any conclusion.
Yeah, well said. That's really sound advice. That really is important to know. For younger professionals, folks that might be interested in being a part of the maritime industry yet aren't today, what's some advice that you can share with them in terms of starting their career in shipping and getting them in a position to succeed with joining a logistics firm?
Yeah, actually, in the shipping industry, there is a lot of opportunities, right? You talk about steamship lines, warehouses, freight forwarders, or the OTIs, the ocean transportation intermediaries. That also can expand to 3PL, right? And so there's a whole bunch of opportunities, right, within the industry. But I think the best thing to understand for youngsters, right, to learn of the foundations, right, what entails transportation, right, insurance, the industry itself, and what else? The basic, like if you're talking about trying to learn international shipment, like you have to kind of go to learn. You don't necessarily need to go to a specific school, but Incoterms, all how import-exporters they settle their agreements, customs, all the taxations. I think it's a good thing to understand what the international trade, import, export entails.
Well said, absolutely. There's such a need to understand that from a comprehension perspective, and that could really, pique your interest into one segment of the supply chain industry that you could potentially pursue. Yeah,
and learn the basics, right? Now, in the past, we'd say you have to be good at Excel. Now, maybe if you're moving towards data analytics, all these BI tools that I spoke earlier. Communication, right? Communication skill is a must, right? I think in any industry, and keep a good attitude, open mind. Keep your mind open for learning, but try to learn everything, right? Keep a broader scope of knowledge within the shipping.
Well said. Well, Dalton, thank you for your time today. I appreciate your expertise, and we'll be staying tuned shortly.
Yeah, no, appreciate it, Sean.
Thank you, sir.
Very much.